After a long discussion of literature papers, now we would like to discuss about the language part and the language part that is included in our paper fourth. So that we are going to start today. And this is aspects of language. And in this paper particularly, we would like to discuss about the different facets of language, and we would like to understand as to what language is and how it functions and what about its history and other different things. My dear friends, we would like to understand the history of English language only. So, English is primarily a Basque Germanic language that originated from the Anglo-Frisian dialects and was brought to Britain by Germanic invaders or settlers from what is now called North West Germany and the Netherlands. So, primarily, uh, actually, it originated from Anglo-Frisian dialects. This English language, what we are speaking today, it is originated from, Anglo-Frisian dialects, and it uses a vocabulary unlike other European languages of the same era. A large portion of the modern English vocabulary came from the Anglo-Norman languages. So these all, my dear friends, these are all important facets, and these are all important points related to the history of English language that we need to notice and we need to record in the memory. English is considered a borrowing language. Today, you see English that has become a global language. It is a global lingua franca today. So it came from nowhere, and you see it actually borrowed its vocabulary and so many other things. So it is called a borrowing language, my dear friends. Middle English differed from Old English because of two invasions which occurred during the Middle Ages. The first invasion was by people who spoke North Germanic languages. They conquered and colonized parts of Britain during the 8th and 9th centuries AD. The second invasion was by the Normans of the 11th century, who spoke Old Norman and eventually developed an English forms of this called Anglo-Norman. So, my dear friends, as we were talking, there was actually, two different Englishes. You see the Middle English that was different from the Old English because of the two invasions, and the first was, North Germanic invasion, and the second was, the invasion by the, these people and those who were the old Normans actually, and they developed actually a kind of different English that is called Anglo-Norman, my dear friends. A new vocabulary introduced at this time heavily influenced many organizations, including the church, the court systems, and the government. European languages, including German, Dutch, Latin, and ancient Greek, influenced the English vocabulary during the Renaissance. So, as we were talking, my dear friends, English language, and European languages, including German, Dutch, Latin, ancient Greek, they all influenced the English vocabulary. English is indebted to, so many languages for that matter, and including German, Dutch, Latin, and these are the important languages from where the words for English have been borrowed. Old English initially was a diverse group of dialects, reflecting the varied origins of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms of Britain. The late Basque Saxon dialect eventually became dominant. Written Old English of 1000 AD was similar to other Germanic languages such as Old High German and Old Norse in terms of vocabulary and grammar. Written Old English is relatively unintelligible today. The Old English actually that we were talking, that is unintelligible today. We cannot read that, we cannot understand that, in contrast to written modern English and written Middle English. So Old English, because that so many archaic words and archaic models of writing, so that Old English cannot be understood today. Close contact with the Scandinavians resulted in much grammatical simplifications and lexical enrichment of the English language. which had been based on Anglo-Frisian. So because of the so many contacts with Scandinavian people and many other changes, so actually it got simplified, and these changes did not reach southwest England until the Norman invasion in 1066. Old English developed into a full-fledged literary language based on the most common manner of speaking in London during the 13th century. So this is how English language developed, my dear friends, and it became a full-fledged literary language, and so many literature was also produced in it. From late 17th century to the present, the Dictionary of English Language was the first full-featured English dictionary. Samuel Johnson, one of the very famous authorities over English literature and language, he was the one who published the authoritative work in 1755. It was, you see a kind of maiden effort for the dictionaries, and he produced that to a high degree. The dictionary standardized both English spelling and word uses. So it was the first work that was done by anybody in English, and you see Johnson is given the credit for it. And you see this was a standard kind of work that you see improved the spellings, that is improved the word usage, and so many other things also. Meanwhile, grammar texts by Lowth, Murray, Priestley, and others attempted to prescribe standard usage even further. So later on, my dear friends, you see so many other developments started in English, and because of that, you see English has become what it is today. Early modern English and late modern English vary essentially in vocabulary. So the modern English, that is the earlier part of the modern English and the later part of the modern English, so there are the differences, and those differences are because of the vocabulary. Late modern English has many more words, arising from the Industrial Revolution and the technology that created a need for new words as well as international development of the language. So, my dear friends, actually, because in the new English or the later part of the modern English, so many words came. And they came because of the Industrial Revolution, because of the technology, because of the intercommunication with the several other countries. So many new words were created, and they were created because of the need and because of the international communication. So many other words were created. The British Empire, at its height, covered 1/4 of the Earth's surface. And as we know, actually, people used to say that the sun never set on British Empire. That was the glory of British Empire, and this is how it was called Great Britain. And you see, my dear friends, so because when it was on the height of its empire, then you see it covered 1/4 of the Earth's surface, and the English language adopted foreign words from many countries. So that was the need, that was the demand of the time. So because of that, actually, because of that, the need, you see, English language had to adopt words from the different countries, from the different cultures, from the different languages. British English and American English, the two major varieties of the language, are spoken by 400 million people. Today, received pronunciation of British English is considered the traditional standard. The total number of English speakers worldwide may exceed 1 billion. So, my dear friends, the actual number we do not know till today. What is the actual number of English language? But it is being spoken by many more people. Now we come on the speech mechanism in English, actually. How English language is spoken and how the sounds are produced, how we use our, the organs of speech in order to produce the different sounds and all. Two different systems are involved in the production of sounds, the respiratory and the digestive systems. Human beings do not use their speech mechanism exclusively for the production of speech sounds, but also for breathing and eating. The speech system is made up of a series of organs and cavities that form a passage from the lungs to the mouth and nose. The section from the larynx upwards is called the vocal tract. Sounds are all produced in the vocal tract. When we inhale, the air enters through the nose and or mouth and then passes through the pharynx, the larynx and the trachea into the lungs. When dealing with this speech, we should consider these are the important parts. So this is all inhaling and exhaling the air, and that is what creates actually sounds, you see. So we must consider the following things actually, and the first of them is lungs. They are two large organs like sponges which expand when we inhale and contract when we exhale. So these two organs that are known as lungs, they are primarily responsible for producing the sounds. The lungs are situated within the rib cage or thorax. Below them, there is a flat muscle, the diaphragm. The lungs cannot perform the contraction and expansion movement by themselves. They cannot perform the action of contraction and expansion. Thus, all the work is done by the muscles that join them to the rib cage and or by lowering the diaphragm. So this is how the sounds are created, my dear friends, because this air comes and goes actually, and the lungs function as a motor that sets the passage of air in motion. When we speak, exhalation is controlled. Therefore, it usually takes longer than inhalation. The second thing that we need to consider for the sounds or for the speech mechanism in English, that is larynx, my dear friends. Larynx, it is the passage situated between the trachea and the pharynx. Pharynx, this is Adam's apple actually, and this is what actually is very much needed in order to create sounds, my dear friends. So larynx, it is the passage situated between the trachea and the pharynx. The function of the larynx is very important in speech, since it contains the first valve that can interfere with the passage of the air stream. The epiglottis, the epiglottis, an elastic piece of cartilage, has no function in speech but acts as a valve. So epiglottis acts as a valve actually. We raise it when speaking and lowering when swallowing. Thus we prevent food from going into our lungs apart from coughing and choking. For normal breathing, the vocal folds, which are two elastic bands lying across the central part of the larynx, are open, forming a V shape, and the space left between them is the glottis. We would like to see the photographs also, my dear friends, later on. In our coming slides, we will see the photographs of all these things, so then the picture will be more clear. We can also bring them tightly together so that no air can pass through. When the vocal folds come into light contact, the air passing through causes them to vibrate. The result of this vibration is what we call voice. You see, then the vibration takes place, and the vibration, because of that vibration, the voice comes out. On the other hand, all those sounds produced with only breath, without the actual vibration of the vocal folds, are called voiceless sounds. The height of the pitch, the frequency of vibration of the vocal cords of the voice will depend on how tense the vocal folds are and how fast they move. So this is how the sounds are created, my dear friends. So larynx is another very important part for speech mechanism or in order to create the sounds. Now third, the vocal folds are the first valve or trap that can interfere with the passage of air stream. The vocal folds are the first valve or trap that can interfere with the passage of air stream. They are two elastic bands of ligament and elastic tissue lying across the center of the larynx. The vocal folds may be brought together or parted. The opening between them is known as glottis. You see, that is very important point, my dear friends. The vocal folds may be brought together or parted, and the opening between them is known as glottis. They can assume different positions, completely closed, wide open, partially open. So these are the three situations, my dear friends, that can be adopted by them. We would like to discuss them one by one. Completely closed, position of obstruction of air, wide open, position of normal breathing, the glottis is held open and the vocal cords are relaxed as for voiceless sounds, partially open, position for voice. That is the position for voice actually, that is the final position for voice. The vocal cords come into light contact and become tense, so the air stream passing through them causes their vibration. Cavities or resonators. That is number 4. My dear friends, the air stream having passed through the larynx, when air comes through and having passed through the larynx is now subject to further modifications according to the shape assumed by the upper cavities of the pharynx and mouth. So once actually it is produced through larynx actually, or once the air comes out, larynx actually, then it has to take further modifications, it has to take further shape, it has to take further, development, and it has to take the shape from upper cavities of the pharynx and mouth. And my dear friends, according to whether the nasal cavity is brought into use or not. So, what we were discussing earlier, that is very important actually, it is not the one organ of speech, or it is not one part actually that is held responsible for creating the sounds. It is the energy and the combined efforts of all the organs of speech, my dear friends, that are responsible for creating the sounds. These cavities function as the principal resonators of the voice produced in the larynx. They are hollow spaces containing air. There are 3 main resonators. Remember, my dear friends, this is another very important point. There are 3 main resonators. The pharynx, which can change its shape slightly. It is both part of the digestive and respiratory system. The nose or nasal cavity, which is constant in shape and size. The mouth or oral cavity, which is extremely variable. The pharynx is the rigid structure situated at the top of the larynx, my dear friends. It extends from the top of the trachea and esophagus to the region part at the rear part of the soft palate. The escape of the air may be affected in 3 ways. The escape of the air may be affected in 3 ways. The soft palate may be lowered, in which the air escapes through the nose or the mouth. The soft palate may be lowered so that a nasal outlet is afforded to the air stream. The soft palate may be held in its raised position so that the air escape is solely through the mouth. It is the first of the passages, and it makes a connection with the oral and nasal cavities. The nasal cavity is controlled by the velum, soft palate, my dear friends. So this is, you see, short information, and these are the small points that you need to remember. The oral cavity is the most important resonator, since its active organs can easily move, allowing it to change size and shape at any moment. The articulators, they are all situated in or surrounding the oral cavity. They are called active if they have movement and passive if they are fixed. They do not move. They are 4. The palate, the mouth, the tongue, and the lips. The palate, it is a concave structure separating the mouth from the nasal cavity. It is a passive organ. It is made up of different parts. Alveolar ridge, hard palate, soft palate, or velum. So these are, once again, my dear friends, some of the important parts. And these are the articulators. They help in producing the sounds actually, and they are the active agents in creating the sounds actually. They are basically 4. The palate, the mouth, the tongue, and the lips. The palate, the mouth, the tongue, and the lips. These are the important articulators. So first of all, we would like to discuss the palate, my dear friends. It is a concave structure, as we have discussed, and it is separating the mouth from the nasal cavity. It separates the mouth from nasal cavity. It is a passive organ. It is made up of different parts: alveolar ridge, hard palate, soft palate, or velum, as we have discussed. And the second part, my dear friend, is mouth. You see, that is a very important part, very important part in order to create the sounds. The mouth, the shape of the mouth determines the quality of the majority of the speech sounds. The only boundaries of this oral chamber regarded as fixed are the teeth, the hard palate, the pharyngeal bowl. The remaining organs are movable, like the lips, the tongue, the soft palate, and the jaws. The tongue is a very active part. The most agile organ, as I have told you already, is a very active part, and it is the most agile organ of speech, and therefore the most important articulator. It is so important articulator that it plays a very sensitive and active role in order to produce the sounds, my dear friends. It moves backwards and forwards and up and down, and therefore it creates the sounds. It can interfere with the air stream by having a complete contact with the palate, causing either friction or producing a stop. It is made into 4 parts. Very important parts, my dear friends. The tongue has 4 parts: tip, blade, front, back. These are the very important parts. You see, this can be a question: tip, blade, front, and back. And now, the another very important part is the teeth. You see, teeth is not active because their situation is fixed. They cannot have the movement, so they are passive actually. Upper and lower teeth. The upper teeth can interfere with or stop the airflow coming from the lungs with the help of the tongue or the lower lips. And my dear friends, you see, the lips. Lips are also very active agents in order to produce the sounds. They are the external part of our mouth, and they can also adopt different shapes according to the sounds we want to produce. They constitute the final orifice of the mouth cavity whenever the nasal passage is shut off. When they are held tightly shut, they form a complete obstruction or occlusion to the air stream. If the lips are held apart, they may take up the following positions: spread, neutral, close rounded, open rounded, or held sufficiently close together that friction occurs between them. So, even in fact, as we were talking, my dear friends, lips are also very, you see, important parts for creating the sounds. Now we come for the speech mechanisms in English. So, articulation, it is the formation of speech sounds. All the organs involved are called articulators. They are active when they are capable of movement. You see, these, the articulators that we are going to talk, they are active when they are capable of movement, like lips, like tongue, soft palate, the uvula, and the jaw. And passive are teeth, alveolar ridge, hard palate. They are also called fixed actually. So we were talking about these all important articulators, my dear friends. And here we go to understand the organs of speech, my dear friends. And these organs of speech, you see, they actually, through this picture, it will be very easy for all of us to understand what are these organs of speech and how we can actually understand them. And as a matter of fact, my dear friends, how these organs of speech help us in producing the important sounds, and how they help us in producing the sounds, and how the sounds can be produced, my dear friends. So you see, at the left side, first of all, we can see tooth ridge is there. And after the tooth ridge, actually, that is the back part, and there is the front part also. And underneath you will find upper teeth is there, my dear friends, you see. So upper teeth, actually, upper teeth has also got a role. As a matter of fact, they are not active, they are passive. But even then, they play their role actually in obstructing the air. Later on, you will find upper lip and lower lip. They are the active agents, my dear friends, in order to produce the sounds. And then the lower lip and the jaw. And vocal cords, you see, vocal cords, they are a kind of leaves structure. They have the structure of leaves actually. And the sounds and the shapes of the sounds actually primarily decided by the vocal cords. And if we come to the right side we find actually nasal cavity. Nasal cavity actually is responsible for, you see, creating the particular nasal sounds. And after that is the hard palate. Hard palate is the inner part. And then there is velum actually. And then there is nasal passage. And later on, it comes tongue. Tongue has got, as we have already decided, that it has got, you see, 4 important parts. So, this was the picture of organs of speech. And now we can see the picture of, you see, this is epiglottis. As I already promised you, my dear friends, that we would like to discuss it through pictures. So, this is epiglottis. And you see at the right side you find this is vocal cords. And this is vocal cords, you see, they are something like, you see, the structure of like leaves actually. And then trachea is there. It is the windpipe from where actually the sounds goes inside. And then the cartilage. Here actually we can see the phonetic symbols, IPA. So there are actually, you know very well, there are 20 vowel sounds and 24 consonant sounds, my dear friends. And you see these 12 beginning sounds, they are the single vowel sounds. So these are the sounds actually. The first is A, that is simple A, cup. The second one is A, like arm, father. Third is A, that is cat, black. Fourth is, that is neutral actually, met, wed. Fifth one is, you see, fifth one is halant A actually, if you can understand Hindi. So that is, you see, bay, cinema. Sixth is a longer sound actually, my dear friends. It is A, turn, learn, something like that. Number 7 sound is short E, hit, sitting. 8th is longer E, that is smaller E, this is longer E, C, hit, C. 9th is neutral lips actually, like hot, caught, rock. 10th is O, coal, 4. 11th is small oo, that is small oo, put, could. 12th is capital oo actually, that is blue, food. So this is how we can understand. And you see, these are the double vowel sounds, my dear friends. So they are 8 in number, like I, 5, ow, now, then A, say, 8, and then 4th is oh, go, home. 5th is oi, that is boy, join. 6th is air, where, air. 7th is ear, near, here. 8th is ue, pure, tourist. So this is how you will understand them. And these are the consonants, my dear friends. So consonants are very easy to understand. They don't have many difficulties actually, like vowels. So through the sounds actually you can very easily understand, like bad, did, find, give, how, yes. J is yes actually. Then cat, leg, man, no, sing, pat, rad, sun, she, tea. And then this is check. This is che sound. And this is think. Then this is this. Then voice, wet, zoo, pleasure, just. So these were the important sounds of English, vowel and consonants. Hope you have understood the idea about the English language sound patterns and the history of English language. Thank you.